The crimson sun of Xylos bled across the obsidian floor of the Grand Conclave, casting long, skeletal shadows of the assembled delegates. A low hum, the collective anxiety of 1,000 nervous thoughts, vibrated through the chamber. The air, thick with anticipation and dread, felt heavy enough to suffocate. Each member of the Galactic Accord, representing countless star systems and untold billions of lives, sat in their designated alcoves, their forms shifting nervously, the subtle undulations and rhythmic pulses of their biological systems betraying their unease. At the center, the Grand Arbiter, Cathar, a being of immense size and ancient wisdom, remained motionless, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the empty void where the anomaly had first appeared. The very fabric of their reality had been torn open, not by the expected chaos of a rogue black hole or the predictable aggression of the Krill, but by something else. Something unknown, something potentially dangerous. The silence stretched, a taut thread pulled to the breaking point before Cathar's voice, a deep resonant rumble that echoed through the vast space, shattered the stillness. "The reports have been reviewed," Cathar began, his voice laced with a weariness that belied his age. "The observations are consistent. The intrusion is real. Its origin, however, remains a mystery." Whispers rippled through the conclave. The Krill, the eternal enemies of the Accord, were immediately suspected, as they were in any intergalactic crisis. But this was different. The energy signature was unlike anything they had encountered, a chaotic jumble of frequencies that defied all known scientific principles. The readings are inconsistent with known spatial distortions. The Grand Arbiter turned his gaze to the representative of the Zidon, a species of telepathic beings. "Delegate Zidon, your thoughts?" The Zidon delegate, its form a shimmering cloud of emerald light, pulsed softly. Uncertainty, a void of expectation, no malice detected. The telepathic response hung in the air, offering little comfort. The void of expectation was the greatest fear of the Galactic Accord. The Krill were a known quantity, a brutal but predictable adversary. The unknown, however, was a threat of infinitely greater scope. "The anomaly's rapid expansion is concerning," voiced the Krill representative, a hulking creature with razor-sharp claws. Its voice grated on the ears, a harsh rasp of predatory intent. "Perhaps we should take preemptive measures, a swift, decisive strike to eliminate the unknown before it eliminates us." A wave of protests erupted from the other delegates. Such a tactic was a violation of the First Accord, which strictly forbade unprovoked aggression. The Krill, of course, cared little for the laws, the rules, the nuances of civilization. They only understood strength and conquest. Cathar raised a massive, clawed hand, silencing the uproar. "Your enthusiasm is noted, Krill," he said, his voice flat. "But such action is premature. We must gather more data. Understanding the nature of this intrusion is paramount before we consider an act of..." He turned his attention to the representative of the Cygnus Collective, a species known for their advanced technological capabilities. "Delegate Cygnus, what is the status of our sensor scans?" The Cygnus delegate, a being of pure energy contained within a shimmering crystalline structure, pulsed slowly. Analysis ongoing. Data acquisition complicated by the nature of the intrusion. Initial readings suggest an origin outside the known galaxy. Unprecedented energy signatures detected. The room seemed to grow colder, the fear palpable. Outside the galaxy. The implications were staggering. If something was coming from outside the galactic sphere, what kind of power could it possess? The weeks that followed were a blur of frantic activity. Scientists worked tirelessly to understand the anomaly. Diplomats scrambled to formulate a response. The military, on high alert, began to mobilize. Yet the intrusion continued to expand, its borders now encompassing several star systems. Panic began to grip the outer sectors, the whispers of fear replaced by screams of terror. The Krill continued to press for immediate action, their eagerness to destroy betraying their own underlying fear. The Zidon, through their telepathic probes, attempted to discern the intentions of whatever was coming. All they got were flashes of thoughts, a kaleidoscope of images that made no sense to their telepathic minds. Order, structure, purpose, but a kind of freedom. This information was deemed highly unreliable, a collection of chaotic sensations that gave them a splitting headache. The Cygnus Collective, meanwhile, made a breakthrough. Their advanced sensors had managed to decipher a faint signal emanating from the anomaly's core. A signal that, against all odds, seemed to be a form of communication. Back in the Grand Conclave, the tension had reached a fever pitch. The delegates were exhausted, their faces etched with worry. The anomaly had begun to disrupt communications, trade routes, even the very fabric of spacetime. The Krill, their patience exhausted, were on the verge of declaring war. Cathar, his face gaunt with fatigue, called for an emergency session. "The situation is critical," he announced. The anomaly continues to expand. The signal, it appears to be a form of greeting. We must make contact. A chorus of gasps echoed through the chamber. Contact. With something that defied the laws of physics and threatened to consume them all, the Krill representative roared in defiance. Are you mad, Arbiter? This is a trap, a precursor to our destruction. We must strike, and strike now. The Zidon delegate, its form pulsing rapidly, transmitted a burst of telepathic signals. Dangerous, hostile, but not inherently malicious. The information was muddled, uncertain, but it seemed to hold the first thread of hope. We have no choice, Cathar said, his voice resolute. Ignoring the unknown will not make it go away. It is time we respond. Delegate Cygnus, prepare a response. A simple message of peace. The Cygnus delegate, with a slow, deliberate pulse, began to formulate a reply. It would be a message of goodwill, a plea for understanding, a fragile thread of communication cast into the abyss. After what seemed like an eternity, the message was transmitted. Then they waited. The wait felt like years, during which the Krill delegation seemed to be on the verge of erupting in a violent rage. The other delegates were mostly stoic and quiet, watching the void, waiting for the death knell. Then a response, not a blinding explosion of energy, not a wave of hostile intent, but a reply. The anomaly, previously a swirling vortex of chaos, seemed to solidify, its edges becoming strangely defined. The Cygnus delegate, its crystalline form shimmering, relayed the information. Reception acknowledged, message understood, transmitting image. On the massive holographic display that dominated the center of the chamber, a new image materialized. It was a ship, not like anything they had ever seen, not sleek or predatory or designed for the brutal necessities of war. It was blocky, almost crude, like something built by children. But the image was not the only information. They had also begun to understand the language. It was a simple, yet complex form of communication. It used images and sound to convey the intended meaning in a very direct way. The language had a very basic structure, but it was highly efficient and effective. The ship was approaching one of the systems within the sphere of the intrusion. The picture was an invitation of sorts. The delegates looked at each other, stunned. The Krill, utterly baffled, opened and closed its jaws in a silent show of confusion. The Zidon sent a burst of telepathic signals. They do not appear afraid. The implication of their lack of fear sent a shiver down the spines of the delegates. It meant that this unknown threat was not concerned about the power that the Accord possessed. This implied that whatever this new species was, it was far more powerful than them. Cathar turned to the Cygnus delegate. What else? Further transmissions received. They have requested a meeting. The Grand Arbiter nodded, his gaze fixed on the image of the crude, yet strangely compelling, ship. Very well, prepare a diplomatic vessel, we will meet them. The decision was made. The die was cast. The Galactic Accord, for the first time in its history, would make contact with an unknown, potentially hostile force. The tension had shifted from fear to anticipation as the diplomats and scientists began the preparation to meet the humans. The diplomatic vessel, a sleek, multifaceted craft, glided into the void. It was an advanced vessel, one of the most technologically advanced of the Accord. The ship moved like a dancer through space with a silent grace. On board, the delegation, led by Cathar himself, prepared for first contact. The atmosphere inside the ship was a mixture of tension and excitement. The Krill representative was visibly agitated, while the Zidon delegate maintained a stoic silence. The vessel, under the watchful eye of the Cygnus collective, approached the designated rendezvous point. The alien ship, the one from the image, remained motionless, like a block of gray metal floating in the blackness. The vessel's sensor arrays, however, were picking up increasingly strange readings. The ship was emitting no heat, no radiation. It had the bare minimum in energy readings. It was as if this alien species knew the technology but did not rely on it. The craft also seemed to be unarmed, which made it all the more terrifying. It was an act of complete faith, as if this new species knew it would be welcomed. As the diplomatic vessel drew closer, the alien ship began to move. The gray metal slowly opened to form a kind of docking bay. The diplomatic vessel smoothly matched course and entered the bay. The bay sealed and the interior lit with a warm, soft light. In the center of the bay, a group of beings stood waiting. They were humans. The diplomats, led by Cathar, disembarked. The humans, dressed in simple, functional clothing, were of average height and build, their skin in various shades of brown and white. Their faces, though, were what captivated the alien diplomats. They showed an openness, a curiosity, a lack of fear that was unsettling. The eyes of these humans held an intensity, a level of intelligence that the diplomats had never encountered before. One of the humans, a woman with short, dark hair, stepped forward. She was the first to speak. Her voice was calm, confident. "Greetings," she said, her words translated instantly by the Cygnus collective. "We are the representatives of the United Earth Federation. We welcome you to our vessel." The humans were remarkably calm. There was no apprehension, no suspicion, no sign that they were intimidated by the alien delegation. They simply stood there as if this were a routine diplomatic meeting. "We are honored to be here," Cathar replied, his voice a low rumble. He extended a hand, a gesture of peace and friendship. The human woman mirrored the gesture, her hand surprisingly small as it met his. "We are also honored," she said, her eyes meeting his. "We are very interested in learning about your culture." The meeting began in the ship's primary conference room, a space that was utilitarian yet strangely elegant. The humans had set out simple but effective refreshments. The diplomats were offered refreshments, which they sampled cautiously, while the humans began to explain their history. The humans spoke of their homeworld, a planet called Earth, which was a marvel of the universe. They spoke of their struggles, their triumphs, their technological achievements. They described their system of governance, a complex network of democratic principles. They spoke about their ethical standards. The humans were very adamant about their moral and ethical values. The aliens listened, fascinated. The humans, unlike the Krill, were not driven by conquest or a thirst for power. They were driven by a desire for understanding, a commitment to cooperation, a dedication to the common good. Their technology, though lacking some of the refinements of the Accord, was impressive. They could harness tremendous amounts of energy, travel at incredible speeds, and manipulate matter in ways that defied the known laws of physics. The Krill representative found the entire discussion extremely irritating. Its biological systems were running at full speed. It was ready to attack at any moment. The Zidon telepathically scanned the humans, trying to find some form of malice, but all it found was a profound sense of hope. A strange emotion for a species capable of such destruction. As the meeting progressed, the humans began to reveal more about their capabilities. They showed the delegation images of their battles, of their infrastructure, of their accomplishments. One of the greatest revelations came when they showed a simulation of their strategy for dealing with an alien threat. They showed an advanced form of energy shield, capable of deflecting the most powerful energy weapons. They also demonstrated the ability to create artificial gravity, allowing them to create massive structures in space. They showed that their ships were capable of going to the very edge of the universe. The humans presented the same calmness, the same openness, the same lack of fear that had been shown in the first meeting. As a matter of fact, it was the same level of openness that was shown to them when they were meeting the same humans face to face on Earth. "We have faced threats far greater than you can imagine," the woman said, as the holographic display showed images of exploding stars and galaxy-spanning wars. "We have seen civilizations rise and fall. We have endured, and we have learned." Her gaze met Cathar's, and in that moment he understood. The humans were not afraid. They had faced the darkness, the unknown, and they had survived. They were not afraid of the Galactic Accord or of the Krill or of anything the universe could throw at them. They had seen it all, and they had emerged stronger, more determined, more human. "We understand that your arrival was unexpected," the woman continued. "But we assure you we mean you no harm. We believe in peace, in cooperation, in the shared destiny of all sentient beings." The room was silent. The Krill representative shifted uneasily, its claws scraping against the metal floor. The Zidon sent a burst of telepathic signals, truth, sincerity, a profound sense of responsibility. Cathar, his massive form still, nodded slowly. "We accept your offer of peace," he said. "We apologize for our initial suspicion." The human woman smiled. "Then welcome, friends," she said. "Welcome to the future." The tension, which had been so thick, began to dissipate. The mood in the room shifted. A sense of optimism, of hope, began to fill the space. They were no longer enemies, but potential allies. Over the next few weeks, the relationship between the humans and the Galactic Accord developed quickly. The humans, with their advanced technology and their unique understanding of the universe, quickly became invaluable. Their technology was shared with the Accord, and new advancements were made in the fields of energy manipulation, communication, and defense. The humans, along with the Cygnus Collective, helped design new weapon systems. The humans were also responsible for helping the Accord defend itself against the Krill. They developed an advanced shield technology that made Krill's ships virtually harmless. The humans, it turned out, were experts in defense. The Krill were outraged, but there was little they could do. The humans had made the playing field even. The humans also shared their knowledge of the universe. They explained concepts of multidimensional space, the multiverse, and the nature of time itself. They helped the Accord discover new, unexplored areas of the universe. They shared their philosophical views, their ethical and moral standards. The humans were not driven by greed or by conquest. They were driven by a desire to understand, to explore, to cooperate. Their ethical code seemed impossibly lofty in the face of the Krill who had no ethics at all. One day, while Cathar and the human woman along with the Zidon delegate were reviewing the latest scientific data, the Cygnus delegate sent an urgent message. Anomaly activity increasing. Unstable energy fluctuations. Threat level elevated. The mood in the room shifted immediately. They had all become friends, a group of allies, and now they were all in danger. Cathar turned to the human woman. "What do you think it is?" The human woman looked at the holographic display, her expression unreadable. "I think," she said slowly, "it's time we found out." The combined forces of the Galactic Accord and the United Earth Federation, spearheaded by a joint task force, approached the anomaly. The anomaly had grown significantly, now encompassing several star systems. As they got closer to the anomaly, the sensor readings went haywire. The energy fluctuations were extreme. They were unlike anything they had encountered before. Once again, the human ship took the lead. The vessel's shields were activated, and the ship moved into the anomaly. The rest of the fleet followed, maintaining a safe distance. The anomaly's effects became more intense as they got closer. The very fabric of reality seemed to be warping. The human ship, however, continued to move forward, its shields deflecting the energy waves. After some time, the human ship came to a stop in the center of the anomaly. The fleet held its breath. The moment of truth had arrived. The human ship sent a message. "We are ready," the message said. "We are entering the core." The human ship then disappeared. Moments later, a new image appeared on the holographic display. It was an image of the core of the anomaly. It was a massive structure. Its size was difficult to comprehend, but it was easily the size of a small galaxy. The structure was ancient, older than the universe itself. The structure was a prison. It was holding something back, something powerful. The human ship emerged again, but it was changed. It was no longer the simple, blocky ship it had been before. It was now sleek, elegant, like a blade of pure energy cutting through space. The ship had been augmented with the knowledge that the humans had gained inside the core. The shield's strength was now exponential. The energy readings were all off the charts. The human woman's voice echoed through the speaker. "We've found it," she said. "We have entered a structure of ancient origins. We have detected a signal." The image shifted again. It was a message, not a warning or a threat. It was a plea, a cry for help. The image resolved itself into a series of symbols and images. The message explained that the anomaly was the prison. The structure was designed to contain a cosmic entity, a being of unimaginable power. The entity had been trapped for eons. The entity was now trying to escape. The humans had made contact with the entity, and it was now trying to use them to break free. The humans wanted to stop this, which was very strange. The human woman continued. "We need your help," she said. "We can't do this alone. If that being escapes, all existence will be threatened. You and your people will all be erased." The plea was urgent. The message was devastating. All their fears were realized. They were all in danger. Cathar looked at the holographic display. He looked at the image of the ancient structure, and then he looked at the image of the human woman. He saw the determination in her eyes, the knowledge in her voice. He trusted her. Cathar turned to the Krill representative. "Do we stand together?" The Krill, still hesitant, still suspicious, nodded slowly. They knew, as much as they hated to admit it, that they were outmatched. They had no other option. "Then we fight," the Krill representative snarled. "We fight to the death." The other delegates nodded, their faces grim. The battle was joined. The combined forces of the Galactic Accord and the United Earth Federation launched an all-out assault on the anomaly. The Krill, despite their initial reluctance, fought with a ferocity that surprised even the humans. The human ships, now augmented with the advanced technology and knowledge they had acquired in the core, provided crucial support. The Cygnus Collective provided advanced weaponry, targeting systems, and shield technology. The battle raged for what felt like an eternity. The energy fluctuations were extreme. The structure seemed to fight back, launching waves of energy that threatened to destroy the ships. The Krill ships sustained heavy damage but continued to fight. The ships of the Accord held their own but were pushed to their limits. Then, the humans. The human ships, with their advanced technology and their understanding of the structure, were able to penetrate deep into the core. They deployed their most powerful weapons, their lasers, their energy weapons. The energy weapons punched holes through the structure, causing massive damage. At the end, the humans were the ones who went to the center of the structure where the cosmic being was imprisoned. The being was struggling to escape. The human woman and her crew entered the core, knowing that they were walking to their death. The battle was almost over. The being was weakening, its energy diminished. The humans, with their superior technology and their courage, had won. But just as the battle reached its climax, a new anomaly appeared, not the one they were fighting, but another. The humans looked at the anomaly, the image of another prison in a different part of the universe, another ancient structure. The entity they had fought against was only a part of the greater threat. The human woman looked at Cathar. She said one thing: "We have only won a battle." The camera panned out, showing all of the ships of the combined fleet. The fleet, now a unified force, now stood at the edge of the universe. The new threat was just beginning. The galaxy and the universe were about to change forever. The camera slowly panned out further, revealing the vast expanse of space, and the two structures, the new anomaly and the old, separated by a seemingly infinite void. The music swells, a grand, majestic score, as the image of the human ship, now changed forever, fades into the darkness.